call the September 22nd meeting to order. And
Stop.
we have, say the Pledge of Allegiance.
The one over there.
I pledge allegiance
allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Somebody was out of sync there, guys.
Yeah.
Takes time.
All right. If we can have a roll call, please.
David Newbill,
Here.
Jenny McKay,
Here.
Lynn Shank,
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Christopher,
Here.
Neil Laughlin,
Here.
Jennifer Sevigny,
Here.
Jim Kelty.
Here.
All right, everybody's present. First on, we have the approval of the minutes from the July 28th meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 28th, 2020 regular meeting.
Second.
All right, Neil, second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting minutes are approved. Next is the approval of this evening's agenda, and I have a question before anyone jumps in here. On the agenda, under new business, it states the review of the 3 mining applications, but I don't see any information from our consultant and from our engineer. And so I would say that we should defer that for another meeting. So we'll just remove that from this evening's agenda. All right. With that correction, are there any other comments regarding this evening's agenda? If not, we'll do a motion
I make a motion, we approve the agenda for tonight
as amended.
as amended. Also mining.
Second,
Second.
that'll be Neil. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is approved, thanks. I don't believe we have resolutions, communications, and notices for the board to be aware of. Is that true? All right, so next would be to open and then close a public hearing so that we can review the special use permit for the Rotten Manor.
I make a motion, we open the public hearing for Rotten Manor for a 3-year special permit.
I do too, thank you.
Yeah, I need a second.
Second.
Neil's doing the second.
Neil.
Yep.
All right, all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you very much.
All right, yeah, we're not done yet.
Good time, Wally.
See, I was getting ready for dinner.
Just open the door, so hold on.
Okay. I'm ready for you.
Yeah, all right, so for most of us, we're familiar with Rotten Manor and how we've operated, but for Jenny's benefit, I just want to cover a little bit of it. It's the haunted house down on Dixie Highway, and it's a seasonal operation. And so we have, in accordance to our ordinances, if it was a full-time operation, we'd have a paved parking lot and other things that would be required. So rather than go through and try to have them meet ordinances that really wouldn't be applicable for the seasonal part, we do a special use permit. And we have been doing an annual special use permit, which requires them to come back in every year, and you'll see from the sketches for us to review their business and their operations and make sure that the fire chief is in agreement with what they've got going. And so they've been doing this. How many years now have you been coming?
This will be my 6th year.
Your
This
sixth
should be our 6th year, yeah.
And
We're
so-
doing good.
Yeah, and so we recently had some citizens concerned about noise with an air cannon, and they addressed that.
Yeah, Totally just removed it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they've been, really great to working with the township. As we've asked for things, they've complied with it. It's a nice attraction in the community. So we said, well, there was a little bit of miscommunication this year, and so they actually have started their operations a little earlier before this meeting, but we said, nothing's changed. You did submit information saying that you're complying with all the state requirements as it relates to any COVID restrictions or requirements that you may need to have.
Yeah.
And so we said, rather than have them come in every year now, because they've been doing this and doing well, let's do it. And there's a fee they have to pay, for the special use permit. So we said, let's just do it for 3 years. And we've been happy with everything that you guys have done. And so that was a suggestion for tonight's meeting, is that we do a 3-year special use permit through 2022.
This year,
Yeah.
2020, 21.
And then they'll come back in 2023. Okay.
Unless they make changes, because over the
Right.
6 years, they've made additions to it a couple
Right,
of times, and they've always.
Right. So any changes would require you to come back in.
Yeah, I'll probably still be in there every year. So I keep growing and I keep changing stuff. So I'll probably see you every year.
Wow. Okay. We trust you to do that. Any other comments or questions that anybody has regarding this?
Just a quick comment. I recall last year when you came in, there was a neighbor that came by. It's one of the closest properties to the Rotten Manor, and they complimented you on how responsive you are to their needs. And I thought that was very positive. And then
Thank you.
with the comments about the air cannon recently coming up, before we're even here talking about it, you've addressed it. I think you do a great job with the community and taking care of those problems before we even have to sit here face to face and discuss them. So as we look at extending this out to a 3-year permit, I think your responsiveness speaks for itself. And
Well,
as you
thank you.
say, if something changes, we'll be in here talking.
No, I really appreciate it. No, it's meant for entertainment and to make people happy. If there's somebody upset, I'm not making everybody happy. So it's very understandable. If anybody has a problem, I'm more than happy to listen to it and I'll adjust and fix it.
Yep.
Very good. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, then I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing on Rotten Manor.
Second.
At 7:09. And a second?
I second.
Yeah.
I second it.
Yeah, thank you. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Public hearing is closed. Now, if we want to take a motion on the special use permit?
I make a motion that,
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
this is Benjamin. I've been told by legal on my other Zoom meetings for my client communities, I don't know this, but I've been told that every vote over Zoom should be a roll call vote.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if it's true, but it probably doesn't hurt to do it just in case they're correct.
No, I think you're right, Ben. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Not for the open and close, just for the.
Yeah, I think this will do
For
a
the
roll
motion.
call for the motions,
Okay.
yeah.
I make a motion that we give Rotten Manor a 3-year special use permit from 2020 to 2022.
I second.
Jim said yes. All right, and then a roll call vote, please.
David Newbell,
Yes.
Jenny McKay,
Yes.
Lynn Shank,
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Christopher,
Yes.
Neil Ottlin,
Yes.
Jennifer Sevigny,
Yes.
Jim Kelty.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is new business. And the only thing, we've modified the agenda, so we will not be doing the mining applications, but we will look at discussion on an Airbnb, and I'm not sure who's leading that discussion.
Gina.
Gina,
Mazzarelli, she
you
wanted to
get the
jump in.
floor.
Hi. I was doing Airbnb for a time and enjoyed it thoroughly. And then when I became a township trustee, I took a look at the ordinance. And my first thought was, I wonder if anybody who wrote this has actually hosted or stayed at an Airbnb before, because it seemed really sterile to me. So really more what I wanted to say is, in my experience, it has been nothing but positive. Most of the people I see are actually local or have lived here. Weddings, funerals, family reunions, things along those lines. I had people coming who were for visitation. I had a gentleman who lived in Ohio whose son lived here, and he would come once a month to spend time with his young son. It was really cool. The other thing that I will say convinced me to give it a try was the things that Airbnb have in place that actually does put the onus on the homeowner. When you do your listing, you are expected to do list criteria and house rules, so to speak, and they have to agree to that before they can book your place. There are also criteria on, like I would require a government ID, something that I could actually verify they were who they were. And Airbnb also has, for each booking, $1 million primary liability as well as property damage policy. And those are two separate policies. So $1 million for liability and $1 million for property, that cover both the host and the guest, and that's part of the fee they take from the host. So again, looking at the ordinance I had seen last year, it looked pretty sterile to me, and I would like to see more of a focus on what we as a township would expect from the host to put into their guidelines in order to create and host any bookings. So if anybody's got any questions, I would be happy to answer, but that's really it in a nutshell.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Sure.
What's the air mean when it's Airbnb?
Oh, it's like flying to a destination, because part of their original booking, their original format was go someplace you've never been before.
Okay, all right.
Experience something you never have, because you're going to be staying in a community in somebody's home. And now they actually reach out to the hosts and they want you to host what they call an experience. So if there's something in your area, so like if I were still doing it, I could say, hey, I've got this haunted house you guys could go to if you come from this time to this time.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good. Thank you.
But if you don't have any questions, that's my 2 cents. I will tell you, I stopped because I had a family member who needed a place to stay, and they are currently in the space that I was using.
Bob's
Bob,
got
I got my hand up. See?
Bob's
The question I have is, when you say Airbnb, Jenny, I'm sorry, Gina, is that an organization that books all of them, or is it possible that people that would see Airbnb would take it as a generic term and might not be going through the same kind of due diligence that you do through that organization?
Right, and I would, that organization is all I would consider using, just because of not just the insurance, but their vetting policy before they let somebody sign on to even potentially be a guest. In the United States, they actually have the authority they do background checks on hosts and guests. So I would strictly do Airbnb. Also, they do all the bookkeeping for you. You get a tax form at the end of the year. It's really, they make it really a no-brainer. But personally, I have. Go ahead.
Your suggestion then would be that they have to be actually arranged through Airbnb or some similar organization that does the same kind of due diligence?
Yeah, like VIRBO, something like that. A third party that vets both the host and the guest. There's another one out there that we used to use a long time ago too. But anyhow, yes. What was that? Yes. HomeAway.
One. Yeah.
Which is owned by, or VRBO is owned by HomeAway now.
Right. Again, nothing but as a person who's found homes, especially abroad through them, nothing but positive experiences because of the guarantees they have. If it's not what it's presented, then they put you up somewhere else. So they really do. They've got, I think, both entities covered. But yes, I would very strongly suggest a third party. Otherwise, it kind of is a motel, isn't it?
Okay, that was a question I had.
Mhm. Okay.
And so I'm a little confused, Gina, in that, I mean, are you advocating that we revisit our ordinance?
Well, like I said, this is more educational, because when I read it, it really sounded like nobody who wrote that document had experienced it. And it really is very, very positive. I was debating, I'm going to tell you my favorite story. There was a gentleman who came home for a family funeral. He'd been away for about 4 or 5 years. And I had a policy that you had to let me know 4 days ahead of time. And he didn't have that kind of time frame. So he actually reached out to me through Airbnb. They have their own encrypted messaging center, and said, I've only got 2 days. Can you do this for me? And he explained to me, he said, I'm coming for a funeral. He said, and I'm not staying with family. And I thought, okay, I can relate to that. And, so they really, that third party buffer made the difference. And also I can govern how people can, or the homeowner can govern how they can reach out to you as well. So revisiting the ordinance, yeah, there were a couple of things I noted. I didn't bring that paper with me today, but I just really wanted you guys to understand that it really isn't a hotel or a motel. I mean, it's a personal thing, but the onus should be on the homeowner.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. It's been a while since we've had the discussion regarding short-term rentals and Airbnb. So, anybody have any comments or questions? All right. I don't know that there's any public comments.
I'm just,
Madam Chair, I did get a text from the city engineer saying he was having computer problems. He wanted to let everybody know he was still trying to get in.
yeah,
Jim?
yeah.
Oh,
Tim Judici. So he wanted me to, he said, please inform the commission.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
both the mining reviews would
Yeah,
have been his anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
we took that off the agenda. We didn't think we had the material this evening to cover.
Okay. He texted me and I just wanted to pass it on. I told him I would.
Yeah, if you could just text him back, Ben, and tell him that we've moved the mining reviews. There's no need for him to try to get in tonight. We're about ready to close down the meeting anyway.
I can give you an update on that mining law. They're trying to change it. Can you guys hear me when I talk? Because I'm kind of loud.
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
There's legislation that you probably are aware of that Ruth Johnson has been fighting very vigorously for us by the mining industry, that essentially wants to pretty much take away all the controls from the local municipality and basically let them put the mines wherever they want. And we tried to set up a meeting, Ruth and I, with some of the lobbyists that are working for the mining industry, and Ruth wanted to drag them out here to Kurtz's pit where we could show them some of the problems that exist even today. They wanted to drag her over to Oxford, I think, to where one of those old mining pits is turned into a nice lake subdivision, and say, see, there's no problems. And we want to say, hey, come over here to Groveland, I'll show you a couple of problems, And at the last minute, I ended up wasting the whole day because we kept on waiting for them, but they backed out of it. In the meantime, she's told me that she thinks they're pumping a ton of money through the lobbyists and are likely to try and put the bill through in the lame duck legislation at the end of the year when they shuffle a bunch of stuff through and nobody even bothers to read half of it. However, I know that the MTA lobbyist contacted me about the last revision they had on the bill so I could comment on it. And she thinks they were actually going to try and get it through today. So I don't know what happened, but these mining permits that we have might all be subject to a whole lot of changes if this goes through. And in my opinion, and I'm sure in Ruth, who's been fighting it very diligently, none of it's good. So I'm giving you a heads up on that. That's where it stands right now. When we know for sure what happened, I'll have Danielle pass it on to everybody else in the board.
Okay.
The only question, do you want to do that B&B ordinance? Do you want to look at it or not? I guess, because if you do, you might want to have Ben contact Gina and see if
Yeah, I
that
mean,
changes.
because I haven't looked at it. And
Okay.
so the question, Gina, is, do we want to take a look at the ordinance? And I'm saying, well, I mean, I don't have a feel for it. You're the one that's got to say, oh, from what I know, you need to take a look at it. Because I can't answer that question.
Well,
So
the
you think
copy
we
I
could-
had was just a draft. The last copy I had was just a draft. It wasn't a done deal. So if there is one that has been put in place,
I don't know which button you pushed.
It came up for discussion. Gina said, hey, I need to comment on this because I'm somebody that's actually done it. We tabled it and then it just came up now again for
Okay.
discussion. So I think what has to happen is the board needs to decide, do you want to move forward on it or not? And then ask Gina or somebody to work with Ben and make whatever tweaks you might want to see before you do it. That's what happened. It kind of got started and then everybody said, well, she wanted to make comments on it. I think I sent an email out to everybody that said, hey, Gina has some input on it. She wanted to talk to everybody. Can we hold it till she comes back? And that's really how we got to where we are today.
and
Madam
really,
Chair?
I would like to see a third party, it run through a third party, just because the way that there's no money that exchanges hands that way. Everything goes through as much as they can.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'm sorry for getting a few minutes late. Is Gina a trustee
yes.
of the board? Then she should not be working with me on something that's going to come in front of you, have her influence on you as it comes to her. That's just not good. And for the record, I did stay at a B&B and I wrote a lot of it. So on that count, I would correct you. On it being Stero, we have a representative down here who thankfully is term limited, who has been pushing to make anybody's house a B&B. And I would argue that that's a motel. Whether you want to say you rent it out through a third party or not, our thing was to protect the residents of Groveland. I think your insight is valuable, and I think it could be presented to Bob. But from a planning perspective, and more importantly, from a legal perspective, I don't think you should be working on ordinances that this body recommends that you have to approve, because otherwise you would have to recuse yourself on the other side. I think that's kind of clear. But your input is certainly warranted to give you thoughts as we revisit it.
I asked her to comment just because I knew she was interested as a citizen and she knew about it because it had come up in the discussion with the board. So I understand the position you're taking. I just wanted to make sure she had the opportunity to vet her concerns.
I think there's some good points that we could include in, what I'm just saying is I don't think her and I should work directly together. And then I present it to you and then it's presented to her board. I think she could make recommendations to you, Bob, as anybody else can, and we can revisit the issue and come up with a better ordinance.
That's fine. Gina, if you do have suggestions, why don't you get them to Bob and I can work with Bob and Ben and we'll see.
No
what-
problem.
All right, thanks.
Jenny, and so is our task as a planning commission to look at the draft and with Ben's help formulate an ordinance for it? Is that what our task is? I believe it is.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, you don't even have to put this in the zoning ordinance. This could be a police power ordinance. That's up to the trustees like yourself. This does not have to be a plan, a zoning. This could be done. Some communities do it through police power. Cuts down on the public hearings and it makes the process quicker. It does not have to go to planning.
I don't think I've ever done one that way, but It's
Well, we
interesting.
just, you know, like the ORV park, the road there, that wasn't, that's a police power, right? ORV
Oh, we
road?
rezoned the ORV property to recreational before the.
No, not the, no, Bob, I'm sorry, not, but the, allowing ORVs on that short stretch of, what is that, Shield? Road?
Oh, yeah, right, okay, on Shields Road.
Right, that's a police power ordinance, that's not a zoning, even though we worked on it, you know, zoning had its input, it's not in our ordinance.
Yeah, and I still would want the planning commission involved in it because it is an aspect of how the township operates, and I would rather that the planning commission sees that stuff before the board gets it anyway. Well, hopefully, and what's typically happened over all the years is the planning commission kind of vets all those issues out before they send it to the township board, and then by the time we get it, 99% of the time we're in agreement on it because all those other issues have been discussed first.
No, it has worked well. That's for sure.
Okay.
All right, so, but the marching plan right now is if you have feedback, if you could just document that and get it to Bob, and then we can take a look at which way we want to proceed from there. Okay? All right, so I don't believe we have any public comment, but if we do, now's the time. That would be you, no? Okay.
Oh, I'm the only one? No.
Got one public member, so. And then I see, Ben, that you included some consultant reports for us. You want to just cover those?
Well, yeah, if I could. The first one deals with blight, makes a little more sense. The second court case, I have no idea what they did. I would defer to legal, and Jenny, someone like yourself, they may have an understanding of it, but it was important planning, so I put it in there, but I can't figure it out, and I've read it a couple of times. The first one dealt with what is blight and what's another person's treasure. But more importantly, there's some opportunities in there for training. And I included those for the commission to take advantage of if they want. The land division is always a good one. I've gone through seminars and I come out knowing less than when I went in on the Land Division Act. It's probably one of the more difficult state acts that I've ever had to deal with, and I still don't know.
I'm convinced that act is done with a Ouija board.
Yeah, I think every time we get one, Bob, you and I learn from it. Just quickly, Bob, since you and I have had a whole lot of discussion, I've just had on one of my client communities, Wayne County, issue a directive in a divorce that the people have to divide the property, which is against the state's 4-to-1 Land Division Act. So I asked the lawyers, hey, you make the decision. You know, it violates the state. Is the court allowed to make a decision on a divorce that they couldn't agree on the property, so they have to split it? I personally don't care. My job is to protect the community from lawsuits, right? And so I said to legal, and then legal's gone back and forth like, well, we don't know. I go, well, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. The court said they need to divide the land, and the state act says it's a violation of the 4-to-1. So somehow I think it's going to be allowed to be divided. But
Okay. Well,
and if Jenny, you and Bob can stay on after this, I want to talk about next week.
okay,
We could stay on after the meeting, just briefly talk about next week.
okay. All right, we'll do that. And then there's nothing else. We can adjourn this meeting.
Can I make a motion that we adjourn?
Yes.
You don't get to second.
Second.
Okay, Neil seconds that.
Now, do we have to have a roll call?
You know, it doesn't hurt, I think, because you can't, for the record, you know, people, because they might not be able to see it. So just a roll call vote for adjournment. We'll do that.
Jenny McKay? Yes. Lynn Shank?
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Christopher?
Yes.
Neil Lotland?
Yes.
Jennifer Sevigny?
Yes.
Jim Kelty?
Yes.
David
All right.
Newbell?
Yes.
All right.